Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Have you ever considered how your soul may view life differently than you do? Would understanding the soul's point of view provide guidance in day-to-day life? Mission Evolution Radio TV show is coming to you around the world on the Voice of Canada Broadcast Network, vocbn.ca. With us this hour to look at life from the soul's point of view is Lenka Schulze, an Intuologist, author, educator, spiritual guide. Her lifelong experience, ongoing research, and ample knowledge in the area of intuition and consciousness create a solid platform from which she invites others to view and see life from the soul's point of view. Her latest book is entitled Intuition: Listening to Your Inner Voice, Intuitive Guide to Spiritually Finding the Truth in Deception. Her website, lenka.org. Lenka, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Gwilda, for having me.
I just love this topic. We could use all the guidance we can get, can't we?
For sure.
So you hold a Ph.D., I understand. What was your area of study?
I have done my thesis on metaphysics and my dissertation and spiritual healing.
Well, that's right in the pocket here, isn't it? So how did you first become interested in the soul?
It is a journey just like everybody else. And looking back on that, soul is kind of wrapped up in a invisible blanket that if you don't know that the blanket is there, you're never going to find out what you're dealing with. So I kind of was dealing with that invisible blanket. I didn't really know. And I was not really looking for anything. Actually, the other way around, I was fighting that aspect of that truth that was actually looking for me, kind of felt it like the other way around. And the more I was not embracing that element, the more my physical body was struggling. So finally, when I surrendered and realized like, okay, there's something in it that I have to start paying attention because it's really knocking me down on a physical level, then I start tapping into more the physical understanding of the invisible world. So it's going with the conscious understanding of something that was in me from the beginning of my existence and everybody else's. So that's kind of started consciously digging into that around my 30s.
Did you find before that time, you said you were fighting it, what indication did you have that you were hiding from?
Well, the usual that probably a lot of people share is that people coming to me for questions, for guidance, I see things, I felt things, but I felt also that everybody else got this. So it's kind of like, don't you see what I see? Don't you know what I know? And once they kind of realize, like I realized that they didn't, then I start like, hold on a second, like there's something that I'm missing. And then the missing piece is that I was intrigued by, like, what actually is this? And that's when it became something that I couldn't explain. And that was kind of weird. And I didn't want the weird to define me, right? So I'm like, no, I just want to have a regular job that I can explain in the simple terms. And that is definitely not it. This particular realm does not have a logical answers. And that is what I love it. But at the same time, I didn't want it to become a mainstream for me.
So in your book title is the tag on the end, Finding Truth in Deception. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why? Why? What do you mean by that?
The truth is very simple. Truth is very transparent. It's light. So when let's just say you're dealing with a person, you immediately can pick up on the transparency, and they are just like, you could see right through them, especially children. They're a perfect example. But deception, it doesn't mean that the person lying per se, but that there's something that is muddy. And that's what I find very interesting, is that people in a polarized world, they are more concerned about something like a polarization, truth and lie, but they don't realize the deception aspect of it is somewhere in the middle. It's the lies and the truth mixed together. And it's kind of like that goulash of both. And it's really difficult, even for intuitive people can tell the difference, because let's just say that you have, perfect example, politician is on the stage and he doesn't say lie, but he doesn't say truth either. So it's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then it's the goulash in it. And then you kind of like, well, I like this, but I don't like that. So you naturally want to put them in one side or another side. And deception won't allow you to do that. You can't throw that baby with the bathwater. You have to kind of start like realizing there's an aspect of that conversation on the stage that is partially true and partial lie. And that's where I think people are struggling with, of realizing that aspect of it, because that deception is all around us. I mean, if it's in the health, education, politics, relationships, and we immediately want to do one or the other. But staying in it on that course and trying to figure it out, that is what the deception is all about.
So many people are lying with the truth.
Wow. Wow, I have to write that down. That
It,
is,
it's all
can
yours.
you please say that again?
Lying with the truth.
Lying with the
With the
truth.
truth.
Whoa. Oh, wow.
So we're on the same page. Would you define soul as we're going to be discussing it today?
Um, soul is the essence of us that never dies. It always is with us, and it's evolving from life to life to life.
Okay, so it's the energetic essence of us.
Yes, it's the, it doesn't necessarily have like home, like you have kidney or you have liver. It is the essence of us that doesn't need necessarily the physical body, because the physical body stays on earth, and then we still continue in that essence and that soul on. So it's continuously evolving even beyond our physical death.
So what is self-awareness? Let's play with that a little bit.
Self-awareness,
Mhm.
the observation of yourself, but it's almost like the bird's eye view, like you see in yourself, but that's kind of like, well, who's really looking at you then? So it's the consciousness, it's the awareness, it's the element of the soul who is kind of watching you, the personality. So the personality is being watched over by the soul, if that makes sense. That's how I see it. So it's like you doing your thing, but then at the same time, if you stop and you kind of elevate your vision, and you like, okay, what am I really doing? Like, why am I sitting here with this particular person at this particular time? Barely anyone does that, I found. And then we start questioning those moments. We become very aware, because we have over 60,000 thoughts a day. The scientists are telling us, but only like 5% of them are conscious. So that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like if we can expand that 5% and become really more aware of our subconscious behavior, thoughts, and feelings, that's what it is, the observing yourself.
So kind of like having a witness.
Yeah.
Yeah, having a witness self. Um, when we think of all those thoughts that are unconscious, is that part of the goulash? Is that part of the place where we are not clear?
The goulash. Um, I don't know if I would consider it unclear. If it's unclear only if you are, yeah, and you are not aware of it. But it's kind of like going to a barn that it's dark and you have a little flashlight. And then you walk in with the flashlight, and the minute you shine the light on part of that barn, the dark barn, you see something. And then you're like, oh, here's some hay. And then you start, turning the flashlight into the tractor. And then here's a pigs, and here's this and that. And so the more light you turn on to a certain point of the barn, the more enlightenment you receive in that barn journey. So I think that's how it is with our subconscious mind. We can change, I personally believe that we can change that number from being unconscious. I think we have the ability to become more conscious and skew the numbers, because there already have been people who have done that. So yes, I would agree there it's the goulash, but we can definitely take that goulash and create the ingredients out of it and see what's in it.
Or do you think that a lot of us have been taught to um, feel guilty, or for whatever reason, we're kind of afraid to look in there and see what's in the barn, so to speak?
The unknown. We always are afraid of the unknown and what's in it and what happens if I do open that. And I think majority of the time it is a huge opportunity for healing. And the subconscious holds the memories, and the memories holds the emotions and the feelings and the thoughts. And so I look at it always like the big armoire that has a lot of drawers, and we were stuffing it since the childhood, because we were told this is not appropriate, calm down, control yourself, this is not allowed. And every single time that you want to express your authentic self, you want to be authentically you, people didn't know what to do with that. They didn't know how to guide you. So they just told you to put it in these, no, they didn't tell you to put it in drawers, but you subconsciously put it in that armoire. However, as energy goes, like how long can you stuff a armoire? I mean, eventually it's going to explode. And that's what I'm seeing, that people in a certain time of their life, they realizing like, I can't handle it anymore. And then physical body starts speaking to them. The anxiety, depression, and all the other signs that body is telling them, please open the armoire, please take something out because I'm popping out. And yes, people are afraid. And if we can step through it, wow, what a journey that would be to a healing.
Well, as we move into these times more and more, there's more light present. So it sounds like a lot of armoires are just about to have a blowout.
They are opening up by themselves. Yes.
Yeah. So we have a choice there, don't we? You either open it up or it's going to blow up, right?
Yes, we can try to control it as much as we can. But eventually, from my own experience, the energy of the unknown always wins.
Well, it's time for us to take a commercial break. Lenka and I will return very shortly, so don't go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. We're coming to you on the Canadian Broadcast Network. Do you have any idea who you really are? With us this hour, discussing authenticity, is Lenka Schulze, the author of Intuition, Listening to Your Inner Voice, Intuitive Guide to Spirituality, Finding the Truth in Deception. Her website, lenka.org. Lenka, we regularly tell ourselves lies about ourselves and life. How can we tell truth from deception?
How can we tell truth from deception?
Self-deception.
Feelings. But because our mind will always tell us what we want to hear. So we have to go into our feelings, and the feelings, when we lie to ourselves, they don't feel comfortable. And they
So-
kind of feel like they don't resonate. But if we talk to ourselves, we can override them, but eventually we going on a path with choices that they're not going to feel good. They're just not going to feel good. That's how I would say the self-deception would be And sabotaging is the same thing, and we all have done that. And sometimes you can tell right away, and sometimes it takes you a couple decades to figure out that you have been self-deceived. But we have to be gentle with ourselves, because sometimes I found that it is the programs that goes from generations. So it's like very multidimensional. It doesn't have necessarily answers only in this realm. It has many levels, and just depends. The answers you're going to find is already in the question you ask.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and the question is what level of consciousness that question is asked. And that question will be elevating, as you go on that journey. So, when somebody's starting on that journey, they will have a different questions than somebody who's already been many years on that journey. And that question will be very different, even though the goal is the same.
Do you find that the questions and the answers, even though they evolve, we change them and move forward, also the answers can remain the same, but our understanding of them evolves?
Yes. So I always say the recipes for cookies, like you can make a chocolate chip cookie with hundreds of recipes. And you're always going to have chocolate chip cookie. So going through these questions, the same thing. It's the intention behind the question. Sometimes people don't even know what questions they're asking or why they're asking the questions, but the intention behind it, that is. So yes, sometimes you get an answer and you understand it differently. And then that same 10 years later, you're like, wow, that was really profound. I now seeing it differently. I understanding that now what they actually said, because there's just some amazing, profound mystics, right? They said something so profound, and we all understand it differently. But underneath all that current, we get the intention of that message.
The scriptures are very much that way, aren't they? And I don't just mean the Bible. I mean the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao, all of them. You can read it one time and it means this thing, and then you go on with your life and you read the same passage, and all of a sudden the meaning deepens, and it seems to always hit right where you're at, doesn't it?
Yes, and you actually made a really good point. The truth in every single one leads to the same path. It doesn't that doesn't matter what language or which BS belief system was written in. The truth is always the same. It doesn't matter how you package it up. It's always the same. That's what I love about these scriptures you were saying, is that it's not just one scripture, it's the depth in them that you have to kind of dive in and find the similarity with the same intention is right there.
So, can a person ever really know themselves? I mean, we were talking earlier about knowing yourself and being your own witness, but we're buried under so much conditioning. Can a person really unravel that and see who they are?
The fairy tale answer is absolutely yes. Um, how and who and when those are the fun questions on the way of the journey. If I would say no, I would be lying, because there are already avatars out there who had been able to do that. And we partially, every single one of us on that journey is striving to get that. If there would be a simple answer, I would say, I am part of God. I am part of the creative process of the creator, or whatever that is. It's really actually simple, but that simplicity is often looked over. Like people feel like it has to be more complicated than that. You more than that, or more complicated than that, and it really isn't. We are very multidimensional, but at the same time, things are very simple.
How can a person quit identifying with their damage and patterns and embrace the truth of who they are? What does that process look like?
What the process would look like, I would say the process is whatever that person makes it to be. It could be a lot of fun, it could be very intense, it could be very painful. However you're going to look at it, but the journey itself is very rewarding. And again, like I was saying with the chocolate chip recipe, it doesn't really matter how the process looks like, what recipe you pick. Just focus on the final destination where you're going to get. The intention will guide you to that final destination, and hopefully we'll all get there in one of these lifetimes, because I think it takes lifetimes to get to where we're really heading. But don't stop. Do not stop making these chocolate chip cookies, really, because I find very humbly that it doesn't stop with me. It's just like never ending. That it's like an onion, right? The onion peels are just keep coming off, and each time you just discover something so amazing about yourself.
So we're talking about the soul and what the soul can share with us and guide us. How does one communicate with their soul?
I would like to say it's the language of the soul. We communicate with the language of the soul. The language of the soul doesn't communicate with words per se. It doesn't necessarily communicate with logic. It's not impressed with graphs and mathematical calculations and the scientific researches. None of that really matters, because, again, the truth is simple and the soul holds the truth. So if we go through the simple things as truth is simple, and the soul is communicating with the truth is what comes through the soul. And it's just like, if we start repeating this, we start realizing that we're looking for simplicity. We're looking for conversations of the soul, which would be through feelings. It will be through hunches. It could be through visions. It could be through that inner self that feels so good. It doesn't have and the science of that language would be, it doesn't have a interest in your agendas, how many people on Facebook follows you, how important your book really is. None of that matters. If you write a book or not write a book, soul doesn't care about that. It just want to express itself. So if we can understand that some part of our life we go through a journey of our personality, and it's really the personality is in the end serving the soul, if we have the recipe right. So once you get to the point where you're done with your personality, you have reached to the point of, okay, I have done all that, I have the career, I have the children, I have been there, done that, what now? And the soul goes, it's my turn now. Can I just now be fully expressed? What does that mean? Well, finally, the personality wants to be expressed through the soul. Whatever you have learned, whenever your gifts were given to you, now share it openly, freely with others. And don't have concerns of how and how much, and it all will be given to you if you have these desires of the soul.
Where does synchronicity play into communicating with your soul?
Synchronicity is the other language of the soul. It just kind of shows up. If we start paying attention to them, they're kind of like a crossroads of the invisible realm. Like you have intersections here and you have to decide to go left and right. I feel like it's the crossroads where you're like, whoa, I'm exactly where I need to be on that soul journey. It's just everything aligns, that you are just guided. That's how I see it. It's these crossroads in the invisible world.
We've all had the experience of one of those days you just wake up on the right side of the bed and everything just flows. You pull into a parking lot and the very important um, upfront space, suddenly somebody pulls out of it and you can just pull right into it. What you need is right there on the shelf and you just weave your way through life.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often, I know, but is that part of being in alignment with your soul?
Absolutely. Yes, you are definitely on that realm that everything is like a sliding on the butter versus going through constantly that portal of, like you go into the post office or bank or talking to the IRS agent and it feels like you're stuck in traffic, literally energetically. Yes, that's like, your soul doesn't like that. Soul doesn't vibrate very well in these kind of a conversations about money and systems and how to's. It's not interested in that. So you're right. It's like when you are supposed to be flowing with the universe, it will feel like that. It's just like, yep, it's like a dancing through the streets.
It's very joyful too. So, what is soul purpose?
Soul purpose to me is the expression of the personality eventually, and is to evolve and and one point to get back into the creator.
What do you mean by personality, expression of the personality?
Like we were talking about, that when you enter into your physical body as a baby, you are in a pure light, right? You are the pure essence.
Mhm.
And then you start building your personality, your trials and errors, and all that was like the earth school. And that earth school, you had learned a lot of lessons, a lot of classes you have passed. And now at the final stage is like, okay, all the things you have learned, can we now put it into the soul expression? So hopefully you have learned the compassion, the kindness, the sharing, the vastness of the human existence. And that's what the soul wants to express. But if there's only jealousy, vanity, greed, sickness, and all that, the soul is too elevated for that. It doesn't going to fit. It's almost like you can't fit yourself in the puzzle. So that's why it's so important to people realize that our purpose on earth is really the expression of the soul, and the expression of the soul is here to assist the personality. But if the personality is too dense, it's too heavy, it's not going to fit. And that's when we find that struggle, that dis-ease, the disconnect, because the soul is vibrating so much higher.
So we basically have to refine our personality enough that it can express the soul into ordinary reality.
That's one way to say it, or embrace these higher moral virtues like integrity, transparency, authenticity, and freedom, not just for ourselves, but freedom for all. And, free all the beings around us, because there's just still so many situations and institutions and even family dynamics that people are holding the souls hostage, literally. And so you
Well,
can't.
we're going to have to talk about the souls being held hostage on the other side of a station break. Linka and I will be right back to continue our discussion, so stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Does your soul have a purpose? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us discussing soul purpose and how to find it is Lenka Schulze. Her website, linka.org. Linka, we were just starting to talk about soul purpose. I assume it's similar to life purpose. How can one find their soul purpose?
Many different ways we can assist the soul to communicate to us the purpose, because we have, I almost call it the blueprint, right? We came here already knowing what our purpose is, but somehow it was hidden, you might say, to be rediscovered, or some situation we were just bombarded with the human life, and we just been disconnected from it completely. And the reason why I'm saying these two different options is because in certain tribes, they've been awaiting for that particular baby to be born, and they have been guided that that particular baby will have a certain blueprint, and they will be honing that baby to be aligned with that. And so that life of the Native American child, let's say, would be looking very differently than if someone is born in Detroit and trying to do the same, right? So we have not been equipped in certain civilizations for that kind of soul preparation. That's why I'm saying there's a different way. So I don't have a one way or another way. It's better, or it just depends where you were born, what's your situation in the current time. But if you just a regular mainstream kind of a person, there is a way we can do it through past life regressions, let's say, or we can also ask our moms and dads and grandparents how we were the first few years of life. We can tell a lot from the first 2, 3 years, because we are still in a full essence of where our person, how we were, what we were interested in, and then the natural questions. And there is a lot to say about that time, but a lot of people don't remember, and the parents were just not paying attention. And so there's one way. Or when you are already adult, just pay attention, awareness again, be the witness and see what is drawn to you for fun, for just what would you do no matter what. Like, people don't even have to pay you. If you have all the money in the world and you could do anything in the world, what would that be? What would that be? Would you be studying the insect? Would you be studying somewhere with the monks in the Himalayas? There's a lot to say about that answer. So that would be one way. Yeah.
So, does soul purpose remain the same throughout our lifetimes, or does it change?
Ultimately, the sole purpose is to be connected to the creator. And I don't know how many lifetimes that takes. So that is the initial. But in each lifetime, I believe that there's a certain lessons that is being learned. And, honestly, it's just BS belief system. And I could have changed my mind in the next 20 years. If you ask me again, I don't know. At this point of my personal evolution, that's how I see it. Because I have learned a lot just in my journey, and seeing it, how I can express that through my personality.
So, where does our soul purpose come from? I mean, who decides on it?
Oh, I wish I knew. I would get a Nobel Prize.
I wanted to read the small print myself, but
Yes. I don't know. Gwilda, do you?
no, there's lots of theories out there. Some people say, well, we get into this huddle with our guardian angels and we all decide on it and we sign the contract and there we go. But I really don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
neither.
either. Yeah. So, do you believe we reincarnate, apparently?
Yes, I do believe in reincarnation. Yes.
And do you think all the reincarnation is just here on the planet, or do we go elsewhere as well?
My personal belief system, and I remember BS belief system, at this point in time, I believe that we can incarnate in other places.
It'd be interesting lessons there, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So, as we reincarnate, does our soul purpose remain the same, or does it change each lifetime?
If I repeat the same thing, if we go in, our initial, and the one goal of the soul is to go back to be with the creator. So again, I believe that never changes. But how many lifetimes that takes, eons of lifetimes, I have no idea. I wish I knew. I mean, honestly, I believe nobody really knows. We all have our beliefs about it, but I don't think people really know.
So, if the goal is to reunite with the creator, are there people that have been able to do that while still in the body?
Jesus?
He did a fine job of that, didn't he?
Yes, I honestly, I probably, there have been others, but he is the perfect example.
There have been a lot of monks and various ones that have really dedicated their life, and they're probably pretty close too, I would
Mhm.
think.
Pretty close, or even, there's a book by Dr. Swanson, and he had mentioned that there's a lot of documents in these monasteries with the monks that they holding, that there have been supposedly more people besides Jesus. But again, what do I know? I have not seen it, so it's really hard for me to state something that I personally do not know.
Got it. So, if as we reincarnate, the ultimate soul purpose, I understand, as we said, is to reunite with the Creator. But each incarnation, does the soul purpose change? The shorter version of the soul purpose, does it change?
I'm not the expert in reincarnations, but just from what I have learned and I have experienced, I would say yes, because each lifetime, if you graduate with these lessons, the earth lessons, then you're going to have another assignment. So if, let's say, your lifetime was to learn abandonment, you have been abandoned by your mom and then your boyfriends, and then your kids didn't want anything to do with you in this lifetime, I think you pretty much got it. And the key is to leave this earth with soul understanding that all is well, and there's no hate, there's no bad feelings towards them, and karmic entanglements and the negativity. So I would say, yep, you pretty much did a good job with that one, A plus. And so the next time will be something else. That's just a simple kindergarten example of what that could look like.
So it sounds like to evolve, it takes a lot of personal processing each lifetime.
Yes, yes. If we can see it like that too, it takes the witness again. If we truly are going, let's say, through the abandonment, it's terrifying on a physical level, right? It is heartbreaking. You're dealing with the deceit, with the heartbreak, with the deception, with the lies, with all that struggle that goes between. And I don't know what else to tell people to feel better if not seeking the soul understanding of it, because the physical is just too tremendously painful. But if we can step out of that physical and see the bird's eye view of the soul, it's elevating us that we don't feel the pain as much, if that makes sense. So it's almost like the soul is the healing process that helping us through the earth school.
So like pulling out and getting, like you say, the bird's eye view puts things more in perspective so we can move through them with a little bit more grace.
Absolutely, yes. And I do not believe that there is a life people live on that is completely walking on rose fields, and with butterflies flying. I don't think so. So every single one of us went through these journeys. And I believe, just again from my own experience, if I engage that soul of trying to understand it from the bird's eye view, it's easier, because I do not find any peaceful solutions in that duality of the human existence.
And that polarized duality of human existence is really under the microscope right now, isn't it?
Yes, and as long as people stay in it, there will be no light in the tunnel. Like one of my favorite quotes, lift the veil of duality and you will see the light. Stop putting it into these categories, because every single one of us is based in different BS belief systems. So what you think is right, they might think it's wrong. But what you think is wrong, they think it's right. So can we just allow other people to just be, and allow them to think and do whatever they choose to do, obviously without harming the other beings? So there's a fine line where we have to step in if if that interferes with somebody else's growth. But like I was saying, is that there's still so many organizations, people, institutions, companies that still play that role of um, stunting the growth of the individual for
Well,
some way or reason.
right now is a perfect example. I mean, I've been around a while, and I have never seen a time that was more polarized. And it seems like the more polarized people get, the less aware they become, and the lower their frequency. Why is it now, at this time in history, that we're really seeing this?
Why? That's not my expertise. I can't tell you why, but I don't think that ever was more visible. And maybe the Aquarius age, the planets finally shining on something that was under, like I like to say, is like the Aquarius was not invited to the party that was going on for 2000 years. She shows up and like, what guys were you doing? Okay, now let's just see, quote, quote, see what's going on. So again, I'm looking at the bird's eye view, right? I like to see it that way, where he, the energy of the Aquarius, doesn't matter how you just archetypally want to see it, is shining the light, like you were mentioning, into the darkness. And then the darkness is now able to transform into the light. So every single one of us, because we are light beings, have been carrying some of the darkness in us for generations. So we feel it. It comes on a physical level, as well as emotional and mental. So we might feel headaches, we might feel stomach aches, back pains, severe, like for no reason, exhausted. But also, we start realizing then we have emotional roller coasters going on with situations with our family or our business or our bosses or whatever that needs to be enlightened, you know. That's where the light needs to shine and dissolve the darkness, transform the darkness. That's what's going to be happening. And we see it, like you said, we see it in our government. We see it in our nature, the nature speaking loudly more than ever, just because she's also tired of what we have been doing for the last few hundred years to her. So it's just inevitable. Why? Again, I'm just going with that simple answer. But of course, there's many, many answers, and they probably all correct.
Just different aspects of the same
Mhm.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going through it, like I said, a time of polarization. It seems like it's pretty important to get that bird's eye view and not get caught up in the drama, in order to stay balanced. So hopefully we can address that on the other side of yet another station break. Please stay with us. Lenka and I will continue to explore the mysteries of the soul. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. What is it like to live from the soul? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Lenka Schulze. Her website, lenka.org. Lenka, why is it important to know your soul's purpose? I mean, you came with a soul's purpose, maybe you just do it, right? Why is it important to know what it is?
Because it's part of our wholeness. It's like ignoring that you have a nose. It's ignoring that you have a leg. It's that part, that important part of us. Actually, it's probably even more important than the leg or another parts of your body, because it is the first sense. It is part of the first sense that came to us when we were born. It's not the sixth sense. It's the first sense. It's the connection to the source. So how can we not acknowledge something that is the dial-up connection, the speed up internet to the source that all the answer lies? That would be really silly to ignore it.
Well, it makes sense why the master said, "Be ye as little children."
Yes, the children are very much connected to that. And you could see it if you spend some time with children. They are constantly daydreaming and they having these pretend conversations. And this is that exactly, they live in that world that we don't see anymore.
We've been conditioned out of it. You know, one thing that I've noticed it all along, because I've never been a real TV or media fan. But I watch my children and now I watch my grandchildren. You know, they have these beautiful little spirits, and then they sit in front of the TV and they just suck it in like a sponge. And then they start acting what they saw on the TV out in their playtime.
Mm.
How much of that programming has created the flotsam between us and our soul?
It's really devastating to see that, honestly. I was lucky we didn't have that when I was growing up. We were we didn't have the privilege. Thank goodness, honestly. I would be probably not the same way. But the programming is very important to realize, because the first 7 years you are in the theta brainwaves, right? So you're in a hypnosis, literally. And it doesn't take long to get you into that state, like the experts saying somewhere around 60 seconds. And so what you know about hypnosis is that you are, as a child, a pure slate. There's nothing in your brain yet to based your reality on. So you are like a sponge, empty sponge to just soak in thing in. So it's so important to know, what are you feeding your children? What are they soaking in? So if they soak in your wisdom, your grandparents' wisdom, the wisdom of the nature, where they looking at the squirrels and they're curious about how that butterfly changes forms, that will be their programs. But you're right, the television, you tell the visions, they will be acting on it just because that is overall, unfortunately, how we are designed. We are very easily programmable creatures.
And something is taking full advantage of that.
100%.
And that's not the only programming. So we were talking about education. So a child comes, again, just this lovely open book, and when we're talking about the Native American way, the elders would watch the child and see what aptitudes they were demonstrating, and then whoever in the tribe that had their expression, their job was that particular aptitude, would then steward the child. But in this day and age, in our education, it's like you were talking about cookies. It's cookie cutter. The child is forced to take whatever gifts and expression they have and to try to fit it into the system. How damaging do you think that is as far as leaving an open access to our soul?
Again, it's a very polarized question, right? Because some people wouldn't see anything wrong with it. So it depends on the level of consciousness of that individual. I believe it is disservice to that soul, because the soul didn't came here to be programmed by something artificial. It came here to express itself, again, through the experiences that should be vast and should be stimulating. But if we just see, like you were saying, the natives that will leave the child in a nature that is communicating through senses, and potentially can develop even the senses to see the invisible realm early on, and they can engage in that, like what a earth school that is now really tapping into the tapestry, into sacred knowledges of all the universe, right? So versus we are basing everything on the industrial age still, which we are not in. I mean, our education is only 100 years old or so. Our founding fathers have been, majority of them, homeschooled and had a very little education. So people forgetting, you don't have to go very far. And now, like, let's say I'm based in Florida, there is a lot of open realm into, you can do homeschooling, you can do even unschooling. And I have been around both of these concepts. And I have to say, these children are unbelievable. They are so fully integrated with, just they could talk to you about a lot of different subjects into depth. And they are far from people think, oh, well, they're not social. Oh, no, they have so much time to socialize with actually beings that they find stimulating versus the group of children they are assigned to. So again, if we go back to the founding fathers and they see their classrooms, or even from my background, I mean, my grandparents, right? So it's like they may had a school with 12 kids and they were all different ages. So it's just, you have to change the perspective of, how do I want my child the first 7 years to develop the brain? And what is my idea of the quote, quote, perfect? Because we all have a different ideas. And I'm not going to be here telling one person this is the right way, because there's, again, many chocolate chip cookies recipes, right? So pick one and just know that eventually we can get there, because all roads lead to Rome. The soul will pull us through. It's just would be nice if we would have a different foundation to be sitting on in the beginning, versus putzing around the first 30 years trying to undo the things that we didn't have to be imposed on. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of undoing required.
Yes.
So, what are the signs that you are living your soul's purpose? What are the indications that you're on track?
For example, right now, I'm in complete joy talking about the subject that I absolutely love. That's honestly my husband is so tired of me talking about this. He's like, you have to get a different what is it called? Outlet, because you have so much in you that you need to share. So that's kind of what it is that what would you do if you could do it in any time, any place, even for free? And that is, for me, it's this, is that I enjoy sharing anything that would assist other fellow humans, the soul evolution.
So, what are the signs that you're not living from your soul's essence?
Okay, so it's very simple. When you get stuck into the matrix that is moving like molasses, banks, offices that just feels like you literally, I don't know if you feel the same way, Gwilda, but I feel like when I enter into those buildings, that everything slows down and it's just stagnant. So when I'm feeling stagnant, nothing is moving, that is not the direction of my soul. That is my personality is pushing through something, that I have some personality agenda. And yes, I can make it work, but eventually I'm probably going to toss it the next corner because it didn't serve my soul purpose.
Is there a kind of like a push-pull in life that draws us to our soul purpose and repels us from that which is not our soul purpose?
Yes, and if we are aware of it, it will get easier and easier. If we just follow the direction of the joy, of that ease, but sometimes it's the casting that desire, right? Like, I want this in life, and from the soul purpose, from the heart. And you just know it, like, I really wanted to do this. And then because you want to really do it, and that's from the soul, you also so scared. Who am I to do it? Like, I don't have the proper education. I don't have the proper whatever that is, physique, whatever. And that is where the hurdles comes in, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean you are stuck. That's different. When you get through the hurdle and you feel liberated, or you feel you know you are standing more straight, or with more value in yourself, your self-esteem is raised, all of those are the signs, good signs of you going on the right direction. So I'm not going to make it sound like, the minute you enter on the soul journey, it's going to be easy. It isn't, not often, but it's worth going through it.
Most things worthwhile are, right?
Yes.
So, you speak of a spiritual journey. What is a spiritual journey and how does one embark on it?
I believe the spiritual journey we entered on the minute we were born. And sometimes I think about it is actually the other way around. The spiritual journey is to be a better human. So if we think about that for a second, well, what does that mean? That's exactly what I was talking about. How, in the personality level, we go through our trials and tribulations, mainly based in the subconscious realm of our thinking of doing. And we don't even realize what are we doing. But if we can see that that is the spiritual journey, and every single thing is to be a better human in the end. And the better human then can be expressed through our soul.
Well, we're about out of time in the entire show, so I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, Linka, what's your mission?
My mission is to bring the awareness of the soul consciousness, of the soul existence, into the mainstream, because it holds the power of intuition. And, there's information inside of us that is 100% free. And we can tap into the vast knowledge of all that is. We don't only need a Google. Everything is within us. The GPS is within us. And a lot of people don't know how to tap into it. So my mission is to bring that information into the mainstream.
So you say the intuition. We haven't talked a whole bunch about intuition, but it ties into everything here, doesn't it? Is the intuition messages from the soul?
100%. Intuition is, again, the language of the soul. So it kind of is together. It's just like the chocolate chip cookie with the chocolate chips. It just goes together.
It's just absolutely been wonderful having you on, Linka. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Gwilda, for having me. It's a pleasure being on your show.
Thank you. Lenka came on the show and shared a whole bunch of fun stuff. I hope it's been very thought provoking. Like I said, our guest this hour is Lenka Schulze, the author of several books. Her latest, Intuition, Listening to Your Inner Voice, Intuitive Guide to Spiritually Finding the Truth in Deception. To find out more about Lenka, where you can find her books and all she has to offer, visit her website, lenka.org. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to visit our past archived episodes, visit www.missionevolution.org. Please be sure to join us again right here on the Voice of Canada Broadcast Network, vocbn.ca. This mission will continue, bringing information, resources, and support to an evolving world.